It's October 15th, November 1st, December 5th, February 24th, March 4th, May 1st, Happy June 1st, October 3rd, October 24th. It's good. I don't know what I'm doing. So this was never the freaking plan. Hello, welcome back. This has got to be one of my favorite videos. It was a lot of fun to watch back. If you're new here, my name is Amanda. I've been working on my debut romantasy novel, and over a year ago I made video diaries that were just meant for me. I was never going to share them with anyone else until now. I'm editing them into vlogs. This particular one I made after I finished my first draft, which I did a video on that last week, so I will put that linked. And I wanted to document everything that I had learned from the process. I will say it is very much so customized to what worked for me, and I think everybody's process is different and things that they learn along the way is different. But I'm curious to see if any of you relate to any of these points. If you do, please leave a comment below. And if you have anything to add, any advice that you've come across, or even just things that surprised you about the writing process, please comment below. I am so curious, and I'm always looking to talk to other authors. So, enjoy! She is a big girl. This is incredibly thick. I don't know why I'm surprised by that. It came out to be about like 405 pages, I believe. Sounds about right, but there is something about holding 405 pages that feels different, although this should be like 200 something, so. Feels good to actually hold it in my hands. I was so anxious to get this. I think I've just been like really impatient, but it's just cool to like flip open to random pages and be like, oh my goodness, what scene is this? What's going on? I'm surprised by how many scenes I don't even remember writing, which just goes to show how long I've been working on it. So yeah, we're gonna start marking up this beauty. I think I'm gonna try and make a video later about like some takeaway lessons from working on draft 1. And so that'll kind of wrap up that chapter, which is really crazy to say. Oh my goodness. Took forever to get here, but I'm very excited. So it's been a few days. It's now December 5th. I've kind of just been taking it easy, and I almost keep forgetting that I was going to make this video. But since draft 1 is done, I do want to do a little check-in and just share some of the things I think I've learned from this first process. I am a little intimidated to be going into the revision process because it is just shifting gears. But I want to document some of the things I've learned about doing first draft, which is a huge step and one that I've never done before. I've never written a full book, especially one of this size. So one thing I learned, especially during the end of this process, is that you have to work up to being able to write daily, and especially work up to being able to write a long amount of time daily. When I first started the draft, I was really gun-ho. I think I wanted to write like 9,000 words a week, which now is actually doable. For the month of November, my goal was like 10,500 at least words a week, at least. But for reference, that's 11 months later than January when I had first started. I had heard some of my friends that are writing books talk about this, about how you kind of have to build up your tolerance of being able to write that much every day, and I kind of took it, kind of didn't. I love to believe that I can make big grand changes immediately, but it is true. It's a habit that you build, and I learned that it's better to at least start doing a little bit each day, build that habit, and you can start doing more. So in June, there was like the writing retreat with Abby Emmons online, and I just did at least one 25-minute sprint every single day. And although I don't think I made like that much progress in that month, it was a lot more than I was making the several months before, because on Wednesdays I would have work off. I would push myself to write a ton, and then for the rest of the week I basically didn't write. I had a really hard time doing that. So getting in like the habit of consistently writing a little bit was a big deal. And then by November, although I didn't write every single day, I was able to write 1,500 words or more, usually every day. And I guess that kind of brings me to my second point, at least right now. I don't think, knock on wood, because I'm not sure, I don't think I can write 7 days a week. It is a little too much. However, you have to be careful how you choose which days you take off. So 5 days a week works pretty good for me usually. I really struggle to have a routine. So another point, routine is important. Not that it has to be the same every time, but this is something I'm still working on. I have a really hard time writing in the morning unless the first thing I do when I get up is getting ready and getting out of the house. It's just really hard. And I don't think that's has to be a bad thing. Maybe I am just more of like an evening writer. That is fine. It's okay to adjust your schedule to what feels right in that moment. And so routine is something I'm still working on, but it helps. And also having like a designated place where I write each time, which is now this desk, and some other like coffee shops and whatnot. That does make a big difference. And I'm hoping that, next time I write a first draft, or who knows, maybe I'll carry into second draft, knowing that, like having a little bit of more feel of the type of routine I like will make the process smoother and faster. We'll see. I don't know. Making this first draft was a huge learning curve, a huge one, which brings me to another point I realized just a couple months into writing this first draft is it is okay, and in fact it is great, to stop and work on your outline. I was so impatient. I just wanted to like pants my way basically through the entire thing, and I would get really frustrated because I was so focused on word count that the idea of stopping to work on the outline and get a 0 word count that day was not fun. Which, when you step back and look at it, is quite ridiculous because the word count does not matter. I mean, the book ended up huge anyways, so it doesn't matter, but what matters is the real progress you're making in the story. But the times that I finally did get myself to stop, work on the outline, really think it through, were great. And I found what worked for me was just having a stream of consciousness type of brainstorming process. So just typing out everything I'm thinking on the page, or even like sometimes I did voice clips that helped. Sometimes I would drive my car, listen to music, and just talk to myself. What is this book about? What is this character thinking? Where am I going with this? What if this happens? What if that happens? It's a lot of like what ifs. What if this? What if that? And that seems to work the best for me because it's the same mentality of like playtime, in essence, of just going, thinking of whatever crazy, ridiculous idea you have, creating scenes in your head and thinking, how do I feel about that? And then you can start digging into the logistics of it, but I have to let my mind just play, which is something I'm good at. I've used my imagination since I was a child. And it's funny, you think I would make that connection that it's the same in writing, but sometimes I get so caught up in like the formalness of it, or that it's a real book for real people, for real adults. I forget, it is just playtime. It really is just letting your imagination have fun. And it should feel like it, and that does carry through in the way you write your book. People can feel it. Okay. A big one, I think probably the biggest takeaway, which I've said in almost every video, I believe for me what works with first draft is learning how to write the scene without worrying about the sentences. I think at this point in my career, it is better for me to write something super shitty and fix it later than sit in place hemming and hawing over making it perfect, because I psych myself out. And then I don't really want to do it, and then I start to believe I can't do it, and then I start to believe the idea is awful, and then I go to a different idea. Point is, just write the damn thing. Just write it. It's okay if it sucks. In fact, that is expected. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry. And it's interesting because I've already revised I've read through 2 chapters of the first draft. And it's interesting, like, thinking back, I thought those chapters were, like, a hot mess. Because when I wrote it, I did kind of let myself just get lost in it. And I thought, for sure, these are going to need heavy revisions. They need revisions, but I'm surprised to say they're not really a hot mess. Like, there's some good stuff in there. And so we'll see how the rest of the book is. We'll see if I change my mind on this philosophy once I get through the revising and the rewriting. Because rewriting is a big task. But right now, I think because of my perfectionism, the best thing I can do is just learn to be okay with not writing something perfect. And to just say, screw it, write it, we'll fix it. The point of the first draft is for it to exist. It's basically telling myself the story. That's how I've had to think about it, and that's how I got to the end of the book. And it's hard because I still have a part of me that it gets a little annoyed that the sentences aren't perfect, because I want them to be. I want it to be good the first time around. But at the end of the day, I don't really know if I would have gotten to the end if I had sat there worrying about every single sentence. Probably would have given up. So right now, I think that is my best strategy with first drafts, is just go in, make it exist, tell it to yourself. Yes, do outlining. Outlining's great. For me, I kind of outlined along the way. I had big chunks already set out when I first started. As I went, I was weaving more and more ahead of myself on the path. And so then when I would get there, I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to do. It's like a weird pantsing way of plotting. And it seemed to work for me for the most part. I would love to get a little stronger in the outlining process in the future, but for now, that seems to be a good method. Another thing that's really interesting to me, I'm curious to see if I'm the only person that has this. I'm sure I'm not, but I learned that the longer I spent away from my book, the more I thought it sucked. Which I don't quite understand why. But basically what seems to happen is when I've taken like a few days off or a week off or whatever it is, sometimes even within a day, I have a weird memory of the last thing I wrote. As in, I don't really remember it in its entirety. I don't remember all the details. And so I start to worry that it's actually awful. Or if when I was writing it, I was kind of like, oh, whatever, just write it. What I remember is the feeling of writing it, not actually what it was. So, like, kind of another lesson. My memory of the book versus what the book actually is are very two different things that can kind of mess with my head. And so, as much as I'm not sure I can write every single day for the rest of my life, I do think that it was beneficial for me to not spend too much time away from the book, because when I would get back to the book, even if I was frustrated in the scene I was, somehow it just didn't feel as bad as when I was away from it. I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's awful, because I can't remember it. I really can't remember it correctly. I'm hoping not to spend too much time away. I am taking December slower, to be fair, but that's because I'm reading through it, and I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm reading other books this month, and I'm reading this book. I'm hoping to let that be a nice slow pace so I don't burn out. Another thing, I think I've talked about this in a video before, but my menstruation cycle is somewhat my enemy in this process. I think it's because I think about the book so much, but every time I would get close to my period or I'd hit my period, I had this little meltdown called, oh my goodness, do I hate my book? And I don't. I don't hate my book, but for some reason, that week of every month was always the time that I was most critical of it, the time that I thought it was absolute shit, the time that I thought no one was going to ever want to read it, the time I was questioning, why am I not able to do this? I write romance online. What's the difference? Why can't I make it? My characters have no chemistry. The plot makes no sense. It's a boring story. So many things. And I understand that hormones are part of that, but I think it's the mixture of the one main thing I think about 24/7 being a huge influence on what my hormones are going to swirl with. So if you are close to your period or you are on your period, take everything you think with a pound of salt. I think if I was to look back and track my word count with my period, you would find that that week had some of the lowest word counts possible. And that's not a coincidence. So I haven't really figured out exactly how to stop my brain from it. I can kind of catch it to some degree. But I think right now my strategy is to just remind myself what time of the month it is, the fact that I've had this many times before, and remind myself that after this week, whenever I've gone back to the book again and read through it, it is never as bad as I thought it was the week before. It never is. It's just never the same catastrophic, it's the end of the world feeling. And that's another thing. It's a book. It should be fun. It's not the end of the world. I'm still working on this one, but I don't want to take everything so seriously. I mean, this is like play pretend, right? This is making your Barbies kiss, you know? I mean, same concept, right? It's just a lot more blood, sweat, and tears put into it and then sharing it with the world. It should be a fun process. It should be something enjoyable. It's fiction. I'm not trying to rock anyone's world. I'm trying to give a good time. Yeah, writing this draft has been quite literally a whirlwind of emotions. I didn't really expect to be so proud of myself emotionally through this process, because I didn't expect it to put me through the ringer like it did, and I'm sure it will continue to, and that is completely fine. But I've learned that writing a book is a huge mental game. And not just in the sense of making up plots and characters and weaving together, but the mentality of perseverance and being able to work on something even when you think it might be awful currently. And I've been thinking about this kind of like with painting too. I sometimes watch videos of people painting, and it always looks so bad. In fact, a lot of like the best paintings I've ever seen, for like 95% of the process, it looks awful. The colors make no sense. I can't even tell what it's coming out to be. And there's a reason people say trust the process. And I think it's the same concept here, because in that last 5%, all of a sudden it's the best thing you've ever seen. It's genius. Of course you'd put the colors there. Of course those details are there. But that 95% is where the patience comes in, and you have to trust the process. You have to trust yourself. And so that's something that I'm learning to do, is trusting the process. And I think that is where it really takes a lot of stamina to continue to do this, and be okay with the fact that it is the nitty gritty. It is a lot of rewriting, reshaping, reworking. That's completely fine. But it's hard because it's so easy to compare like your first draft material to like the books and movies that you're exposed to when that's their final draft material, and saying, oh my goodness, why is mine not that good? Well, you don't get to see their first drafts. And yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that I did make it through this process without having a complete breakdown. I say complete breakdown because I'm sure I had mini breakdowns, but they never stopped me from writing. Not in long-term sense. Every time I thought the book was awful, the next week or two I still was coming back to it and working on it. And that's because I never gave myself the option of not finishing. I knew that going in. I knew it was going to just be, you have to finish. And I had watched some videos giving that advice of like, the only difference that is separating me, an aspiring author, to an actual author that's published and on shelves is perseverance. It's just, do you keep writing? Do you keep trying? I think this has shaped me into a better person. I think very much a stronger person. I feel, especially after finishing this draft, a lot more confidence in myself and knowing that anything I want to do, I can do. it is all just perseverance. It's consistency, it's showing up, and it's just not giving yourself the option of giving up. And that is really life-changing to me. I'm really grateful to have done this and to get to continue to do this. My goal at the beginning of this process was to have this book in a form ready to be queried, to be sent out to literary agents, publishable. I made that goal knowing that I did not know what would be a reasonable goal. And so obviously that's not where we're at. It's first draft. Then again, though, I do think as I get better at this process, as I understand what works for me personally as an author, I do think I'm going to get faster at it, because those habits are going to be that much stronger and I'll be able to find my groove. But that being said, stuff takes longer than you think. So it's fine. Like right now, I do have the luxury of being on my own timeline because I don't have an agent and not published. No one is pressuring me but myself. I just want it to be done and be out there and be making progress in my career. But that is a gift, and I think there will come a time in my career where I look back at this and miss it a little bit, although I'm excited to get to a point in my career where I do have a little bit of pressure from people and I have buzz and people are reading it and have an agent and I'm official, but I don't want to completely neglect these years where it's just me, an idea, and a blank page, because that has some of its own beauties in it too. And so I'm trying to enjoy this part because it is all self-motivated. And that means I can do whatever the hell I want. Which I love. I love as much as I also hate, because it is difficult. But I'm really grateful that it is difficult. Yeah, it feels weird to say, but this kind of feels like a chapter closing, although it's very directly linked to the next one. This revision process is going to be a huge, very new thing for me to take on. I'm extremely excited about it. I'm also intimidated by it. I'm curious as to what it will hold, but I am grateful to have made it to this point. Extremely grateful. I just wanted to put this last video, I think will be the last one for the first draft series, whatever I'm going to be calling this. I don't even know if it will ever see the light of day, these videos. But if not for anyone else, for myself, I hope that this helps. I hope that it is me watching these back and being able to gain just a little bit from them, or at the very least be able to look back at this time with fondness and look at it from a place of success, whatever that looks like to me in the future. I'm kind of emotional, actually. I don't know how to accurately express my feelings about having got to this point and the joy I feel knowing that I did actually do this. After so many years, I doubted myself and I thought I just was not cut out for it. And little did I know that the only thing standing in my way was the time and patience it would take. If you had asked me 2 years ago if I'd be writing a book, I would say probably not. I had basically given up on that dream. And so it's a little emotional for me to look back and be sitting here with this huge book that I wrote, and it's messy and it's a first draft, but like I did it. Every single page was me. and it has a plot and it has characters and it's something I enjoy and is special to me. That is a really big deal, and I'm trying to let that really sink in. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm proud of myself for being here. And I know that the next step is going to be just as crazy and amazing. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for it. This book is gonna get finished. It's not gonna stop at a first draft. I am going to revise it. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to proofread it. I'm going to share it. I'm going to get feedback. I am going to craft it into something very beautiful. And it will go out to the public one way or another, whether that's traditionally published or publishing it myself. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do everything I can. It's amazing to hold it in my hands. I look forward even more so to being able to hold it with a real cover and spine and my name on the front and a summary on the back, because it is going to get to that point. So, to revisions we go.